But okay, so typically we do these local advisory councils in person, but obviously this year was not going to happen. So the virtual ones have been probably a better option with the amount of money we're saving on gas and travel. It's really worked out and it had a lot of people. I think we've had over 400 across the state that have joined, some of them. So there are people interested. It's just broken up into small groups like this one. But Tennessee Achieves is a privately funded 501c3. We partner with the state to facilitate Tennessee Promise in 90 of the 95 counties across the state. So the 5 counties that are in gray are run by the Ayers Foundation, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And they'll be going into 7 more counties next year. How many more of yours are they going into? Just 2, right?
Yeah, so they're already in Lawrence and Perry, which is in our region,
Yeah,
and they're
and
going into Wayne and Lewis.
And Lewis. Okay, I was thinking Hardin too was yours, but it's not. Okay, Wayne and Lewis. So
we'll just benefit from Hardin because of our Clifton campus.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yes. All right. So we will be working, we'll continue to work with the college students in those counties. And they'll start working with the class of 2022 and moving forward. So we'll still be with you guys in all those counties for another at least 2.5 years as we work with the college students. But so we started just in Knox County and we were just there for a couple of years before we started expanding. And then when Promise passed, we said we would be the partnering organization in any county that didn't have an existing mentoring component. So that's how we ended up in these 90 counties. So since we've started in 2008, we've worked with over 444 students and 71,000 volunteers. So our 5 main components, I'll touch on each of them. 3 of them have been with us since the beginning. The first is the last dollar scholarship piece. So that is what most people know about when they hear Tennessee Promise, what that allows any student to go to community college or technical school free of tuition. The second is our volunteer mentors. So that's what we like to refer to as the heart of our program. It's really, when we talk to other organizations and other states, it's what really sets us apart from other programs that we're recruiting people locally to work with students in their community. And I know you serve as a mentor, right, Molly? Okay.
Yes.
So we really value that piece of the program. And then community service is the third component that's been with us since the beginning. Randy Boyd is our chairman, and he is a avid Boy Scout and insisted that community service be part of the program when it became statewide. And we have since completed over 3.3 million hours of community service across the state. And the objective is, of course, to help the community, but also to build a culture of giving back. So our hope is that students enjoy what they're doing and get involved in their community and do things beyond just Tennessee Promise requirements. So 96% of them say they enjoy their community service. So we hope that we're fostering that giving back mindset, but we'll see in the near future. And then we've got summer programs. So you're probably familiar with our Bridge program. We host those on each community college. That's 3-week academic boot camp where students get reading, writing, and math instruction, and then they have the opportunity to test out of learning support with the AccuPlacer test. And then we have our institute, Summer Institute. We only have that in Memphis right now. We've actually tried the last 2 summers to expand to Nashville and just do not have enough students sign up for the program. So it's a lot smaller program. But it's 10 weeks. So when we talk to students and say, like, give up 10 weeks of your summer, it's a lot harder of a sell than 3 weeks of their summer. So this summer at Southwest, we actually piloted a 6-week hybrid model. So this program is where students take 6 college classes. They take their 3 remedial courses and 3 two co-rec courses, and then their college success class. And then they start college with 9 credit hours in the fall. So it's a really awesome program. 100% of the students that do it actually complete and pass all of those classes. And so it's been really successful, but we only have between 30 and 45 each summer that we've done it. We've done it 3 years in Memphis. And like I said, can't even get 10 people in Nashville to sign up, which is shocking. So we're going to try to shorten it so we're able to expand and offer it other places, because it really has been a great program. And then our last component is that complete program. So it's our proactive coaches that start working with our highest risk students once they start college. So that is identified as the 0 EFC students. That's who we see has the lowest retention rate, regardless of other backgrounds or other things that we measure. So we wanted to put some parameters and more resources around those students, and our complete coaches work with around 300 students in a specific service area, and they reach out to those students once a month or more, depending on the need of the student, to make sure that they know that they're being supported, have that additional resource, and we guide them through whatever challenges they're facing. So that is our complete model. We, as a mentor, I'm sure that you know, completely value the power of targeted communication. We send 10 million emails a year and 6 million text messages. So we are like overloading everybody's inbox to make sure that they feel supported and that they know what's going on at any step in the process. We also use the data that we get from the state or from the colleges to really target that communication. So, for example, we got all application and registration data from all of the colleges this summer. And each week, if a student had not applied, we would send them a targeted email saying, you have not applied to Columbia State, but you have it listed on your TSAC student portal, so you need to apply now. Versus just sending a blanketed, hey, make sure you apply by July 1st. It really seems to be more impactful when we say, Jackie, you have not applied, than just sending the blanket email. So we really try to use all of the data that we get to pounce on the students and borderline harass them. So our reach, I touched on a little bit, 90 counties, 74 of which are rural. 35 are considered at-risk or distressed counties. And we work with over 600 high schools. There are 67 post-secondary institutions that are Promise eligible. The majority of our students do end up at a community college. So about 80% each year go to community college. And the other 21% are divided evenly between the TCATs and the four-year schools. So when we look at our applicants each year, we have a little over 60,000 students apply in our 90 counties. 89% of the high school seniors in those counties are applying. So we really encourage every student to apply. We want it to be a backup program for students who aren't thinking of going to Promise institutions, because their plans often change from August until May or June. So we always encourage counselors to have everybody apply if possible. 78% of all first-time freshmen at community colleges are tnAchieves students, and then 86% of students who graduate from the community colleges each year are tnAchieves students. 56, so over half of our students are eligible for federal financial aid, so a full or partial Pell Grant. So about 25% of our students are fully Pell eligible. Those are the students that we're coaching, but also they're not receiving any funding. So they're not technically, they are Promise students, but they're not receiving Tennessee Promise funding. They often don't know where their funding comes from. We have found they don't care as long as it's covered and they're not getting a bill. But a lot of times they don't fully understand like where their financial aid is coming from. And then 40% of our students are first generation. So what we find is that really changes the trajectory of the family. If they're the first in their family to go to college, then their student or their kids are more likely to go to college, and moving forward, more of the people in their family will go to college. 51% of our students are majoring in health, career, and STEM related fields. Do you guys see that too at your school? Or do you know the number that
I feel like that's really low, and that's only because
That's what
every
I was
other
Really?
person I talk to wants to be a nurse.
Oh my gosh, I feel that way too.
Yeah.
No, like they do not have room for everyone to be a nurse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know. I feel the same. Everybody wants to be a nurse or a dental hygienist. That's popular too. And also,
Rad tech here too.
Rad tech and early childhood education. That's a big one, very popular. And I can't even imagine being in a room with tiny children all day. But I love my tiny children. So okay, so cost of the scholarship annually, it costs the state about $30 million a year to pay for the tuition and fees associated with having really 3 cohorts in, because we have they have 5 semesters. So for 3 cohorts, it's about $32 million annually. And it costs us as a private 501c3 $2.5 million to operate. We have a staff of 28 across the state in our offices in Memphis, Nashville, and Knoxville. I don't know why I was going to say Chattanooga. We want someone there. We need someone there, but we do not have anyone there. Okay, so college going rate is a huge measurement in the post-secondary world, as you guys are familiar with. Took a huge hit with the pandemic. It's interesting because a lot of our smaller counties actually had the opposite effect, but there was such a large drop in the larger cities that the impact across the state, the college going rate was almost 62% in 2019, and then down to just under 57% in 2020. So a really big drop that we're hoping, obviously, to change in the next few years to get back up to the 60 percentiles. But in Giles County, theirs actually went up, not significantly, but a little bit. So from 19, they went from 48.2 to 48.7. So up half a percentage, which again is what the trend we're seeing in a lot of the smaller counties.
Well, they still are the lowest college going rate in our service area. Last year, there was going to be a grant. We were supposed to do some special outreach, and the 2 counties that were identified as the lowest college going rate were actually Giles and Marshall County. In our service area, which is strange because Lewis County fell so much in their college going rate between 2019 and 2020. They're actually lower than Marshall, because Marshall was at 51% for 2020, 51.1, and Lewis was at 49.5. So now Lewis has fallen below Marshall.
Yeah. So Lewis is below Marshall. So it's Lewis and Giles are your 2 lowest, but Giles is the worst.
Yep.
Yeah. Got to change that.
Which is strange because Martin Methodist is right there.
I know. Yeah.
So you would think that more students from that county would be looking to go there. So, and now it's UT Southern.
Yes. Yeah.
But they will be getting rid of the associate's degrees. I think they've been given by THEC 5 years to phase out the associate's degrees that Martin Methodist had.
Because they turned into a UT.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We didn't have a huge number of students that go to Martin Methodist, but I don't know if that's, I don't know why, actually. Cost, maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, more Giles County students will start going to college. Are you guys, do you guys partner with their counselors a lot? Do you work with their high schools at all?
Our recruiter works with them more than Molly or I do directly.
Yeah. Well, their FAFSA file rate is also not killing it in the counties go. So FAFSA file rate is 72% versus the statewide is 86. So 14 percentage points less, which is pretty significant. 72 is still pretty good. A lot of states think or have, we are one of the highest states in the country for the past few years, at least in the top 5. So many states think 50% is good. So 72% is certainly good nationwide from a nationwide perspective. But in the state of Tennessee, it's typically a lot higher. So we do have some work to do with the students of Giles County to hopefully get more students to complete that FAFSA. But over 13,000 community service hours have been completed in Giles County. So that is something to be proud of.
That's pretty impressive considering Wayne County has a 99% FAFSA file rate, but only 10,693 hours of community service.
Wayne has 99%.
Yep.
That's awesome. But Giles is so much bigger. They have so many students. Wayne County is a lot smaller. And then high school seniors. So that must be a major part.
Yeah.
As far as outcomes, we look at retention and graduation. Our retention rate for students that start with Tennessee Promise institutions is 67%. If we look at all of our applicants and look at retention across the board, no matter where they go, so that would account people at four-year schools, at UT, out-of-state schools, anything. So their retention rate, when you combine them, is 74%, which is to be expected because a lot of the four-year schools do have higher retention rates overall. 67% certainly have some room for improvement, but across the board at the community colleges, first-time, full-time freshmen are retaining at 53%. So the programs we're putting in place are certainly making an impact, but we want to be able to expand them so we can make more of an impact. We want that to be over 70%. That's our real goal in the next few years. So 6-year grad rates are also about the same as far as difference from the state average of 35%. And then tnAchieves students graduating at 51%, so 16 percentage points higher. When we look at just the students who participate in a summer bridge program, their retention rate is 34% higher than their peers. Those who are being coached, their retention rate is 23% higher than their peers. And then for Knox Promise, which is our newest initiative, we are lucky enough to have a private donor there that gave us funding to be able to coach every student regardless of income, and also to be able to offer emergency grants. So I don't know if you guys are familiar, but we just started a pilot for emergency grants across the state to be able to offer smaller amounts of funding. So it's up to $1,500 in Knox County, but up to $1,000 a semester for students in that lowest EFC. So any student who's a fully Pell eligible student, 0 EFC, can apply for a completion grant with tnAchieves. They have to be eligible for Tennessee Promise, but we'll pay for things like laptops, books, transportation, childcare. We pay for rent. So whatever it is that's like a barrier to them doing well in college, we will pay. It is a statewide pilot. It is not a large fund of money. So it's just in the beginning, and we just actually sent out our first round of communication about that this week. We've received over 400 requests so far. And so the money will likely run out quickly. But if you are talking to students and they are Tennessee Promise eligible and 0 EFC and need any additional help, we do have a little pot of funding for completion grants this year. So in Giles County, we have about a little under 300 students apply each year. Students enrolling at Tennessee Promise institutions is 83. So their retention rate actually and graduation rate are higher than the state and national averages. So their college going rate is a lot lower, but those who go are doing better than the state. Their retention rate is 2 percentage points higher, 69%, and 3-year grad rate at 42%. tnAchieves mentors. So you guys are familiar with this. We're making a few adjustments to our mentoring program this year. A lot of our feedback has been that people like the virtual platform that we invested in last year for in response to COVID, so that we could do all virtual mentoring. However, a lot of mentors really miss that in-person connection. We're not doing our team meetings again this year just because of all the uncertainty of everything happening. So we're not doing in-person team meetings where we will require all mentors and students and parents all together in one room. But what we're going to do is sort of a hybrid model of the last 2 years of mentoring. So we will still have our virtual platform where mentors and students can connect, but we'll be offering open houses at all of the post-secondary institutions where mentors and students can meet to go through their college application or just to meet to get to know each other. So we will be offering some in-person options. So the deadline and the timeline are still the same. We're looking for 42 mentors in Giles County by December 3rd. New mentors would just apply on our website and go through a 1-hour training, and returning mentors would also apply on our website or just let. And there will be a 30-minute like refresher training where we'll talk about some of the changes from last year. And then anytime we do these, we're always asked, what are the tangible next steps? What can I do in my community to help? The first is being a mentor. The second is letting us know what other organizations or businesses in your community would be great targets to come talk to about mentoring. So we're always mentoring with or recruiting mentors at the post-secondary institutions. So you guys know that, but if you're involved in any other community organizations or have connections to other businesses, those are our two biggest sources of mentors, is businesses and post-secondary institutions. So any direction or suggestions you have for Giles County, just email mentors@tnAchieves.org, and we're happy always to come virtually to any events or groups of people that are meeting. And then telling a friend about Promise. So you guys are aware that the 2022 application is live. And if students do not apply in their high school senior year, they do not have the opportunity to do Tennessee Promise later. So it's super important that every high school senior does apply, and the sooner the better. So sharing that with any high school seniors you guys may know. Then this is my contact information. So if you ever have questions, I'm the one that pulls all of this data. So if you need anything detailed or broken down any further, I'm happy to dig in to anything that you might be interested in. Always willing to dig deeper. We have a very data-driven board of directors, and so we're constantly being asked to pull different sections of students and in different ways. So always happy to do that if you guys have questions about your students.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you guys.
I don't know if Tyler told you or not, but I think there's a gap that you guys may be missing.
Tell me.
Homeschool children and children in private schools, because I took my dog to the vet and his son was his assistant that day and did not know about Tennessee Promise at all, which after I told him about it, I told him about dual enrollment and about Tennessee Promise. He didn't know about either one. He goes to a private school here in Columbia. And his father had told him, I'm paying for you to go to private school, so you'll be paying for college. So this kid was all excited to find out that he could get Tennessee Promise.
Yeah, no, totally. The homeschool ones
him.
are a challenge because we do like we have the way that we push Promise is basically through the counselors. That's our biggest marketing tool. And so we do have a pretty good network of private school counselors and work with a lot of them. I mean, there are some of the really small ones that we do have counselors, but they're not as interactive or interested. And also a lot of times private school counselors don't focus on the students that would be Promise eligible students as much as the ones that are going elsewhere, which is unfortunate. They don't to believe that their students wouldn't all go to Harvard, which is fine.
Yeah.
So, but the homeschool ones, especially, there's not often like a central place of communication and information to them. So they a lot of times don't. I feel like are the ones we're missing, and I don't know how else to reach them. We work with the umbrella, like all the homeschools have to have an umbrella station, and so we do work with them. But it just doesn't seem like communication is.
I think almost any homeschooled student that I have worked with was not eligible for Promise because they had no
They didn't
idea.
apply. You know, I really hate that. We have like 4,500 students each year that are private or homeschool students. I just know there is still a large group of them that are not hearing about it. The first year it was even higher because it was there was so much hype to it, and it was more like there was a bigger marketing campaign like from the state and being pushed for angles, and now it's just sort of like not as it's not new.
Yeah.
Fresh.
It's not shiny.
It's not the nice shiny object that it was 5 years ago. But yeah, so anything you guys think of that would help us in communicating those, or like if you know of counselors that aren't familiar with us or getting our communication, always send them our way, because we definitely want to improve in that way.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much. And we really appreciate everything that Tennessee Achieves does for our students in these counties. It really is, it makes